Hello and welcome back to Analyzing Evil. Today we will discuss the non-fictional character Big Ed Brown from the 90-Day Fiancé franchise. Edward Big Ed Brown entered reality TV as a seemingly endearing albeit awkward character. Introduced on the 90-Day Fiancé before the 90 days, Ed appeared to be a man haunted by childhood ridicule, looking for love in the most unconventional places. But as his story unfolded across spin-offs and seasons, a chilling portrait emerged, one not from a man seeking connection, but of a man systematically dismantling others emotionally to maintain control. This is not just a story of a failed romance or a TV personality gone wrong. This is the story of covert narcissism, emotional manipulation, and subtle brutality of weaponized vulnerability. Brown's journey from a seemingly sympathetic figure to a controversial reality TV personality is a complex narrative marked by personal struggles, manipulative behaviors, and tumultuous relationships. His story, as chronicled through various interviews and appearances on the 90-Day Fiancé franchise, reveals a pattern of emotional manipulation and self-victimization that has impacted those closest to him. Ed was born with a Klippel-Feil syndrome, a rare congenital disorder that shortened his neck and limited his physical mobility. He was relentlessly bullied as a child, with cruel nicknames like No Neck Ed, leaving permanent emotional scars. Rather than confront these traumas, Ed developed a persona, charming, humorous, and self-deprecating, designed to distract others from his vulnerabilities. But beneath the facade was a man desperate for control and validation. Someone who learned that sympathy could be more powerful than strength. In his 20s, Ed married Sandra Heckman, and together they had a daughter, Tiffany. The marriage ended in 1992 after Ed's infidelity, a betrayal he was often labeled the biggest mistake. It almost destroyed me, he claimed in interviews. Yet instead of facing the consequences, Ed defaulted to a cycle he would repeat for years: hurt someone, play the victim, and regain control through the emotional manipulation. His bond with Tiffany, though publicly affectionate, was deeply strained when he abruptly left to meet a 23-year-old Rose Vega in the Philippines. Without informing her, this marked the beginning of Ed's on-screen descent. His relationship with Rose exposed his deeply ingrained superiority complex and cultural insensitivity. He criticized her living conditions, demanded an STD test, lied about his vasectomy, and mocked her appearance. To the audience, it was appalling. To Ed, it was self-protection. Rose saw through it. He doesn't care about me. He just wants to be famous, she later said. Ed's justification from his behavior always pointed outward: safety, concern, and misunderstandings. But what became clear was the refusal to respect boundaries or cultural contexts. Rose, though initially quiet, would become a symbol of Ed's disregard for autonomy. Her decision to walk away not only preserved her dignity, but revealed how Ed treats love not as mutual connection, but as emotional leverage. Then came Liz Woods. Liz and Ed's relationship began on The Single Life and spanned several spin-offs, including Happily Ever After and The Last Resort. Their dynamics was as toxic as it was persistent. They broke up and reconciled more than 15 times, often with Liz returning to Ed out of a deep sense of emotional obligation and codependency. Ed manipulated Liz with gifts, tears, and apologies, drawing her back in every time she tried to leave. But the emotional toll was evident. Liz, already vulnerable, displayed a significant codependent behavior. She began to absorb Ed's moods, anticipate her reactions, and diminish her needs to avoid conflict. This played directly into Ed's hands. He mentioned her friendship, questioned her sexuality, and imposed suffocating expectations. When she voiced discomfort, he deflected, minimized, or outright denied wrongdoing. Each emotional confrontation became an opportunity for Ed to reclaim control by crying, isolating her, or invoking his insecurities. One of the defining moments in the story came when Ed proposed to Liz. Initially, she declined, but Ed responded not with acceptance, but with sadness and overt displays of vulnerability. Feeling guilt and emotional pressure, Liz eventually relented, accepting the proposal out of pity more than passion. This decision marked a new phase of her relationship, one now defined by obligation instead of enthusiasm. What followed was a stretch of increasingly toxic arguments and emotional outbursts. Eventually, they separated briefly. During this time, Ed pursued another woman, Corey, in Mexico. The dynamic was short-lived but revealing. Ed presented himself as a generous and charming, but quickly overstepped boundaries by flashing expensive gifts and projecting intense romantic expectations. Corey became visibly uncomfortable. Ed's grief after the death of his dog, Teddy, added another emotional performance layer. His mounting became a magnet to draw Liz back into the orbit, not through resolution but through guilt and emotional dependency. Behind the scenes, Ed continued messaging other women and arranging trips to Vegas with sugar babies, actions he denied or downplayed when confronted. Liz, in the moments of strength, called out his hypocrisy only to gaslight and shame until he questioned her reality. These patterns became painfully clear during the tell-all reunions before the 90 Days and Happily Ever After, where Ed often clashes with other cast members. When challenged on his behavior, Ed regularly resorted to deflection, sarcasm, and emotional outbursts. He attacked other characters, questioned their relationships, and portrayed him as a misunderstood figure, constantly under siege. Rather than reflect or apologize, Ed often doubles down, maintaining his victim narrative and dismissing the pain he caused. These tell-alls laid bare an inability to handle accountability without lashing out, as well as his discomfort with strong, opinionated castmates who wouldn't placate him. In the last resort, the toxic core of Ed and Liz's relationship was finally exposed under therapeutic scrutiny. What was supposed to be a healing retreat only highlighted how deeply fractured the dynamic was, devolved into confrontations, with Ed refusing to engage meaningfully and frequently derailing conversations to spotlight his insecurities. Liz, exhausted and emotionally drained, struggled to assert himself while Ed continued to spin the narrative in his favor. Rather than seek healing, Ed uses to process to fortify his position as the wounded partner, once again centering the story on himself rather than the relationship. The final collapse of the relationship came in early 2024, following an explosive argument over something as trivial as taco pasta. What appeared to be a minor disagreement quickly escalated into a breaking point. Without warning or direct communication, Ed unilaterally cancelled their wedding plans, not by talking to Liz, but by informing the officiant and others, leaving Liz to find out from someone else. The betrayal wasn't just a cancellation, it was a cowardice of hiding behind others to deliver the blow. When Liz confronted Ed about the cancelled wedding, she was met not with remorse but with an ultimatum. Ed reframed the narrative, claiming he had warned her that she simply didn't hear him. His gaslighting moments was the final straw for Liz, who had endured over a dozen breakups, years of manipulation, infidelity, public humiliation, and emotional degradation. These moments shattered what was left of her spirit. She had sacrificed her pride, compromised her boundaries, and tolerated emotional abuse in the hopes of making the relationship work, and yet she was discarded as if none of it mattered. Ed's decision to cancel the wedding in this way speaks volumes about his psychology. In classic narcissistic fashion, he needed to be the one in control, the one who ended things before he could be left again. By framing the breakup as a reaction to a petty disagreement, he minimized the emotional investment and long-term damage inflicted on Liz. He carried heartbreak while simultaneously orchestrating it. Psychologically, Ed fits the mold of a covert narcissist: fragile ego hidden behind humor, hypersensitivity to criticism, manipulative control masked as vulnerability, and the inability to accept responsibility. His actions aren't impulsive, they are part of the cycle. He hurts, then rewrites the narrative where he becomes the misunderstood one. His tactics are chilling in their familiarity. love bombing, isolation, emotional invalidation, and public humiliation, and each tactic was executed with emotional fluency. He knows how to cry at the right time, when to feign confusion, and how to generate sympathy while inflicting pain. So, is Big Ed evil? No, in a dramatic villainous sense, but there is a deeper, quieter evil at work here, the kind that manifests not to the grand actions but emotional corrosion. This kind of wounds through intimacy that destabilizes its victims while masquerading as love. Big Ed's narrative is a cautionary tale of how unresolved personal issues and manipulative behaviors can lead to a deterioration of relationships. While he was expressed a desire for love and companionship, his actions have often undermined those goals, resulting in hurt and betrayal for those involved. His story underscores the importance of self-awareness and the need to address personal shortcomings to build healthy, respectful relationships. His relationship with Rose and Liz revealed not just individual failings, but as a repeated pattern of behavior that thrives on imbalance, fear, and guilt. Rose walked away, Liz stayed too many times, and yet Ed continues to return to our screens, suggesting that this redemption arc remains profitable. But what we must ask is, at what cost? In real life, how many people like Ed do we forgive because they cry the loudest while their victims quietly fall apart? How often does emotional abuse hide behind laughter, apologies, and charm? And how do we draw the line between brokenness and cruelty? So, we leave you with this. If a man never learns to love without control, is he destined to destroy every person who tries to love him? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, thanks for watching.
Say one more thing. You're going to purgatory hell. Straight up.
Thank you. Wow.
I do not like you, but I do not hate you. I pity you. I really do.
That's okay.
Shut your trap until I'm done. Then you can say whatever you wish. I do not wish you any ill will, but I'm telling you, you're going to purgatory hell unless you change.